Morning. Happy Thursday. Yesterday, you guys worked on developing boxes and bullets for Mrs. Majeska and the Lost Gloves. So I kind of wanted to touch base with you on that and see where we're at with some of that to help you now do the flash draft part. When you read that text, it's full of really interesting information, but you had to think a little more deeply about Mrs. Majeska and even the lost gloves. There was meaning there that wasn't specifically just pointed out by the author. So remember yesterday when we talked about growing ideas, and I showed you that with the other side, okay? And we talked a little bit about um, what that looked like, that the fence in particular was something that was important in that text to note. Why are they not talking at the beginning? Why is that fence significant? So when I'm writing then a literary essay, I want to include some of my own thinking about why the author, Jacqueline Woodson, kept bringing up the fence. Okay, that fence is showing a divide. Okay, a divide among the races. It's showing segregation. Okay, it's showing African Americans here, whites here. Okay, when they started to sit on that fence together, even though it was still there, it started to show that friendships can be built, okay, even during those very challenging times in history. So that is something that I'm going to put into my essay because it's important to note. That's where my ideas have grown. Okay, rather than just using straight from the text, I'm using that to support what I'm saying in my essay. So the very first thing we need to do then, before we even plan boxes and bullets really, or actually now that you've done your boxes and bullets, you need to go back and make sure that you've looked at this template for trying out possible theses. Okay, so did you try out the character is, or what the character may have learned, or at the bottom, that's that theme part, um, where it says the text teaches, or the text is really about. So that's one thing that you really want to look at again before you start to flash draft today. So you want to take a look and you want to fit in those things. So in particular, you want to take a look then at maybe Mrs. Majeska. So what does she maybe learn? What is that character all about? And what do you know about her? What are you learning about her? Okay, so you need to go through the text very carefully and start to pinpoint some major things that this author is talking about so that you can then do a flash draft based on that. So I'm going to turn the camera down so you can see and flip. Hope I didn't just make you too dizzy doing that. But as we look at that, the author mentions sauerkraut a number of times, okay? And she apparently loves that. So the name Majeska is actually, of course, in itself, not an ordinary American name. So as a reader, I know, that's a little bit different. Then this word sauerkraut, okay? That's not something that we typically hear. I love that they give us the definition of that, and she obviously loves that. So sauerkraut must be something that is also back to Mrs. Majeska's heritage and where she comes from, something that she grew up maybe loving to eat. Okay, sauerkraut is not necessarily, again, an American dish. So, as you can see by the definition, so that right there in itself tells us something about Mrs. Majeska. Okay, so when she starts to walk here and she's thinking about this sauerkraut again. She's absolutely craving it. So again, it is a word that comes up often. So we need to, as readers and then as writers, make sure that that's something that we paid attention to. So she comes across the first glove, okay? And I find this really interesting here about Mrs. Majeska. She actually says, poor thing, okay? And she's looking at it. She actually felt sorry for the owner. So that tells us again something about Mrs. Majeska, the way she is, okay? So look at here. She's going to walk on the other side of the road. Oh, and she's got that sauerkraut again. She's loving that. And she notices something else. Okay, she looks down and she says that sorry thing they've been kicking around. Again, oh, that tells us something about her. And it's another black glove. Okay, and she actually says that she had rescued the other one. So that tells us again something about her. She's wanting to help. She's driven by helping. Okay, she's got such a heart, even for gloves. So as a reader, when I think about she's feeling like this about gloves, what does that tell me about the kind of person that Mrs. Majeska is? So I am going to make myself a note. So what does this tell me about the kind of person she is? So I'm again growing ideas about Mrs. Majeska. So why is she so bent on making sure that she saved these gloves? So she continued to walk, of course. She's like, oh, and she tries to even make an excuse. It's only a glove. It's not a child or a kitten. But she turns around and she picks it up, shakes it out, brushes the dirt off, and guess what? I love this part. So with that glove and the sauerkraut, she actually goes across the street and she places the mate beside it. Okay? She didn't want to leave them separate. She wanted them together. Again, that tells us a lot about the kind of person Mrs. Majeska is. Okay? So, this is interesting too. This tells us something else. So, when she's doing this, she actually bends down when people are walking by because she felt foolish because she was reuniting a pair of gloves. So why in the world would she feel foolish? That tells us a little bit about her as well. It's a different trait that we see pop up in her. Oh, here, this supper was delicious. She was loving her sauerkraut. And she sat there and she actually was, this is interesting, thinking about those gloves. And she's like, maybe I should have brought them home. But so she decides, get up and go get the gloves. She's going to bring them home. Uh-oh, they're gone. And she's mystified. She's just like, oh my goodness, who would want these? And she starts to question this. And I love, though, at the end, she would believe in a happy ending. Again, that tells us so much about her character, who she really is. So No matter what their fate, the gloves were together. Love that. And that was all that mattered to her, is that she had those two gloves reunited once again together. Really beautiful story of an older woman who does this. So as we do this work, guys, it's important not just to read and then go and let's put a literary essay together just based on what the text says. As a reader of an essay, it's very boring. So, in order to make it more powerful, add in your thinking. Think about her as a person. Think about her as who she really is on the inside. Why might she be this way? So you have to really think about her. You have to look at what the text says, and you have to grow your own ideas, what you already know, up in your head, your schema, and apply that to the text. And then when you go and you write your literary essay, it makes it so much better. You're able to hook your reader then. Don't forget in your intro to name that author and the text, okay? You must have these two things in your introductory paragraph when you're writing a literary essay, okay? Then you're going to state what your claim is. That goes back to this here, trying out those possible theses, okay? So, you could use this one so easily with her, okay? And then, of course, you need your 3 supports to show in your introduction, okay? Then, start your body paragraphs, guys, using, again, the same claim, the same statement in each paragraph, okay? It goes in each paragraph. So 5 times you're going to state that claim because you want to make sure that your reader understands that's what the whole essay is about. That's the meaning, okay? You're going to provide that evidence. You're going to look for the explanations of that evidence, and you need to try to use those transitional words, okay? The end looks so much like the intro, but you need to make your reader think. Leave them with a powerful question or a thought about Mrs. Majeska and these 2 lost gloves. So, guys, that should help a whole lot when you go and you try to do this flash draft of this particular literary essay. I will be looking for especially the introductory paragraph and how you introduce introduce your essay, okay? So pay careful attention to those things. Pull out those charts that I've provided you with. They help. They will help lead and guide your work, okay? Don't forget to add your own thinking. Don't just use the text. That becomes very, again, redundant and boring. So make sure you're trying some of these things out and turn it back into me, and I will look over those on Friday as well as over the weekend and give you some feedback on your work. Don't forget that tomorrow on Friday I will have a live help session. The on-level group I'm meeting at 10:30, and the advanced group I will meet at 11. That is not a formal lesson. It is simply if you have a question or you need to pop in and ask me something, I'll be there live just hanging out in case you guys need me. Okay? So have a fabulous rest of the day, and I sure do miss y'all and be talking to you soon. Love you guys. Bye.